Hello, all theatre lovers, both out and proud and on the DL. Welcome to Broadway Breakdown, a podcast discussing the history and legacy of American theatre's most exclusive address, Broadway. This series is called The British Invasion, and it is covering shows that originated in the United Kingdom and then transferred across the pond to our Great White Way, some making a giant splash and some barely making a ripple. I am your host, Matt Koplik, the least famous and most opinionated of all the Broadway podcast hosts. And with me today is a fellow podcaster. He has so many podcasts. If you know me and you've listened to me on anything else, you've listened to two that he does. He is the host of Putting It Together, the music of Stephen Sondheim. He is one half of a host for Kyle and Dave versus the Machine. I've been on both. They've been fantastic. Please welcome Kyle Marshall.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. I have to say, I think you may have missed your calling for being a newsie.
Well, newsies don't talk with a Cockney accent,
That's
although
true.
I guess maybe my intentionally bad Cockney accent was so unintentionally bad, it could be mistaken for Bronx, Brooklyn. And so's the Bronx.
I'm excited to be here. I have to say, I have been a fan of this show for many years, so I'm over the moon for being invited onto this show. And I was telling you before we started recording, for an interesting show you've asked me to be a part of that I have like no knowledge of, and I've spent the last week trying to gain as much knowledge about it as I possibly can.
That's how I roll. I get people interested in coming on the podcast. I string them along for a while, and then when I finally let them come on, I give them a show they either don't know anything about or have little interest in, and I go, I am the captain now. And I spit in your face virtually. Yeah. That's very nice of you to say.
Like every date I've been on is what this feels like.
Well, I'm glad that I can perpetuate that narrative for you.
Yeah,
it's very nice of you. Yeah, no, you've been listening to the pod for a while. You knew it back when it was just me and John, which I say like that was a million years ago. That was a year ago.
I know, it's like not that long ago that it's been that way.
Kyle, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Blood Brothers, the show that has apparently ran for 27 years in the UK, and I have never heard of this show in my entire life. I feel like this would be akin to somebody telling me, it's like, Cats. No, tell me more about this show. What is this Cats you speak of when it's been running for 30 years on Broadway? So
you literally had no idea the show existed until last week?
Correct. Like, I feel like I could not have been more in the dark about this. When you mentioned to come on for Blood Brothers, I'm like, oh, okay, this sounds fun. I had an idea of what that show would even be with that name. And I thought it was going to be like this, like, small underground indie musical. It's like, it's anything but that. It really feels like I was living under a rock for like the last 30 years.
Well, so we'll get into why you probably had never heard of it, because it is a show that did not really make much of an impact outside of the UK. I think you could say best case scenario made a decent splash in Australia, but even like that was in the early 90s, and I don't know how long that has withstood, but I don't want to speak out of school, so who's to say? So you already answered the first question, Kyle, which was what was your history with the show? Which is to say you don't have one.
Yeah, this week has been my history with this show.
Lovely. And we will learn all about that tumultuous week that you've had. I learned about this show. Everyone get your wine glasses ready and take a little sip or take a shot of your whiskey. I first learned of this show at Stage Door Manor Performing Arts Center. Woo!
Way!
Because it's a show that has many roles for people and it's not too provocative. There's some curse words around, but Stage Door, when we did Follies with 17-year-olds, we weren't too concerned about curse words back in the day.
There's some light murder in it, but that's about it.
Light murder. It's more for like the Greek tragedy of it all, more than it's for like the street violence of West Side Story. But alas. Yeah, this show was very popular at Stage Door. They did it every 3 to 4 years, and I finally saw it my second to last year at Stage Door, I think, I finally saw it. And I remember reading the script because I had a friend in it, and I was like, what is this show? Like, I don't know if it's trying to be spooky or if it's trying to be sad or funny. And then I saw them do it, and I enjoyed it for the most part. And then I kind of promptly forgot about it for 15 years. And really only kind of came upon it again when I was figuring out what shows to do for this podcast. Because as you said, this show ran for ever. in the
Yeah.
UK. When
It's like this and the Mousetrap are like the two longest running things
well,
in the West End.
it's kind of complicated, and we'll talk about that as I
Okay,
give
okay.
our little history of Blood Brothers. But it is one of the longest running, possibly like top 10, very beloved, Olivier award winning,
Mhm.
and it ran here for about 2 years, and it would not have run that long if it weren't for some choice casting they did for replacements. And
Yes.
again, we'll
Right.
get into all of that, Hanny. So let's just dive right into this thingamabob, shall we?
Yeah, yeah. I would love to.
Love it, love it, love to see it. Okay, so Blood Brothers. It has a book, it has music, it has lyrics by a man named Willie Russell. The thing I love
Who
most about
sounds like he should be from Kentucky. Can I just say that? Like when you see that name, it really feels like he's a Southern gentleman. Not at
my
all.
name's Wheeler Russell. How
Yeah,
you doing?
exactly.
I guess that may not be Kentucky. Well, no, Kentucky's pretty is like a thicker Southern accent.
You do the vocal work here on this episode because I unfortunately I'm a triple non-threat and where I cannot sing, dance, or act in any conceivable way. So
Well, you've got a nice dulcet speaking
yeah,
voice, and that is perfect for podcasts. Whereas mine could get
right.
you unpregnant.
I feel like I could probably pull off like a Rex Harrison occasionally if I was asked to, but that's as close as I'll probably ever come.
Sure. I mean, do you got rhythm? Are you Jody Benson? Do you got rhythm?
I can set my fingers a time or two.
You know who can snap his fingers? Who can snap his fingers? Jesus Christ. Willie Russell.
Right.
Not Willie from Kentucky, Willie from Liverpool. And that's important that he's from Liverpool, guys. Remember that because, oh boy, will that come up in the show.
He's the fifth Beatle.
Yes. Well,
I know.
funny. So, Kyle knows what he's doing. He knows how to get these transitions in. First of all, Willie Russell started his career as a hairstylist, I believe. Yeah, hairdresser, hairstylist, and then went back to school and got into playwriting. And he was best known before Blood Brothers for two works. One was the play Educating Rita, which I believe came out on the West End around 1979. It won the Olivier for comedy. Yes, he won the Olivier Award for Best Comedy, and he was nominated for an Oscar for his adaptation of the screenplay for the movie, which starred Julie Walters and Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, yeah.
Yes, and he also wrote a jukebox musical based off of the Beatles catalog. It was called John, Paul, George, Ringo, and Bert. And there is a ... there before the and Bert. And it won the Evening Standard Theater Award for Best Musical in 1974, and it ran for over a year on the West End. So Willie Russell was not like, some random dude.
Right.
He'd written some successful plays on the West End. He'd written one successful musical, or, wrote the book for a successful jukebox musical. And
I could be conflating this too. I've read a lot and now I can't remember if it was for this show or that one. Wasn't the Beatles one like a kind of a surprise, sort of like because it ran so long? Like people were not expecting, like it was supposed to be like a 6-week engagement and it ended up running for that long.
That honestly sounds about right. And that kind of is Willie Russell's writing career, that things tend to run much longer than anyone expected. And like Educating Rita, I believe came from like a festival and then transferred and just like became a big hit and really like launched Julie Walters's serious acting career, because she was more of a like not stand-up, like sketch comedian before this, and this kind of legitimized her as an actress, which is hysterical to think of now. They were like, oh yes, Julie Walters, she used to be illegitimate as an actress. Like,
I know, right? We've
known her as Academy Award nominee, multi-Academy Award nominee Julie Walters for like 40 years now.
Yeah, it's like at a certain point she was like, who? And then she became Julie Walters.
Well, it's like one of my favorite articles around the time that Evita was coming out. There's one, I think it's like People, and it's like acting nobody Patti LuPone gets the role of Eva Perón.
That's something you would have framed though on your wall eventually.
Oh, 100. I'm sure she has it framed somewhere.
For sure.
Patti has everything framed. Patti has all the receipts.
And that writer's like home address. So he just drives by every Sunday and just glares at her.
Shows her both of her Tonys and her Emmy nomination. And she's
exactly.
like, sorry about it. Sorry, bitch. Sorry, flop. So Willie Russell had been commissioned to write a work for the, my God, am I going to butcher this name? Merseyside Young People's Theater Company, which was a touring troupe that went to various schools with a small group of actors. Then the whole point was like they had almost no props, a couple of costumes, and they would do these like 70-minute plays usually like morality tales, just
Right.
to sort of bring a little bit of culture and artistry to the children, and then again like have a little message in there somewhere. And they had sort of been hounding him for a while to do one. He finally had time, so he did it, but he couldn't really think of what to write. He claims that he was walking down the street and he was like, halfway down the block, I came up with the idea. There's
Right.
another story that he actually had, that this was based off of a short play he had read in school that he sort of adapted. Who's to be believed? That's for us to decide. One of the themes of Blood Brothers. So he writes this 70-minute version of Blood Brothers, and it only has one song in it, which is the Marilyn Monroe song, which
Oh, interesting.
we will get to her, but
I mean, it comes up 3 times in the
it
show.
comes
so.
up a million times.
Yeah.
It's so.
By the way, I feel okay. This is where I need to butt in and say just something about this, because
Say it, girl.
in a way, I've gotten to know you a little bit here, Matt, and our personalities in one aspect are very different in that, and this is going to sound so mean, I feel like you don't care if you come across as being an asshole sometimes. And like my whole personality is me trying not to be. And I feel like I'm going to come across as like the biggest dick talking about this show. But one of them is that Marilyn Monroe and why I don't think it works. But anyways, we'll talk about that.
Well, there's a reason why it doesn't work, and her first name is Forced. So
well, yes. There's a lot of forcing in this show.
There's a lot of things forced into this show, 100%. But I don't want to shit on it too much, because there are things about it that I think work.
There's things I love in this show, but there's a couple things I'm going to be like extra critical on, and people can write in if they think I'm being a jerk.
I'll put it this way. Yes, first of all, thank you. I am pretty open about who I am and my opinions. I try not to be a dick when it's about negative stuff, usually, just because, while it can be really fun to be sassy in the moment, nothing's ever really accomplished and you're never really heard, because people then just go, oh, you're a jealous hater. And it's like, well, first of all, yes, I am. But second of all, I actually
first of all, correct. But second of all,
that is 100% accurate. I am very much a hater and bitter and jealous. But the other thing is that I do, we all want to be heard, right? We want what we say to come to register, and it registers when you try to express yourself in a non-toxic way. Yeah. So that is what I try to do for the most part. That said, sometimes, we get carried away on this podcast. We have our bits. We fun.
Drink some wine, you get a bit catty, and things come out.
So the Cats episode came out the day before we recorded this, and it's very clear that Kyle listened to that episode. He heard me and Amanda get very drunk and very sassy.
That's right.
But to be fair, that's the only way you can talk about Cats. Well, even if you like it, you have to get drunk and sassy when you talk about it. Anyway, so they do the 70-minute version of this play, which has like slightly different ending. The outcome is still the same, but who holds the gun is a little different. Yes. In the 70-minute version of the play, has only one song, and Willie Russell's like, it worked so well, those kids were like, yeah, I'm into it. And part of me is like, yeah, because it was 70 minutes. But also, yeah, if you watch the video of it, and or like a clip of it, because there's a clip of it in the documentary on West End musicals called The Story of Musicals, and you can see a little clip of that version. It was like done in the round with the kids all around them, and I'm like, yeah, of course the kids are going to be into it when like actors are coming up and down the aisle holding guns, like that gets their attention. Right. But he went to work on making it a full-length musical, especially because he had been hounded by a producer, Bob Swash, who was really pushing Russell to write another musical, one preferably that did not have a previous catalog. And Russell had a career as a pop songwriter as well, so he could write music. Originally, he was going to look for someone to write songs for this, and then he's like, I can sort of do it myself. Plus, I don't have to worry about anyone else's deadlines and procrastination. And also, like, if this makes any money, I'll get all the money for it, and I don't have to share with nobody. So he expands it into a full 2-act musical. It plays at the Liverpool Playhouse for a limited 12-week run. This is the beginning of 1983. It stars Barbara Dixon as Mrs. Johnstone. Johnstone. It's always unclear how you pronounce it, because it should be Johnston, but there's an E at the end. Yeah. But I want to say Johnstone. We'll say Johnston. Mrs. Johnston. Mrs. J, as she's often referred to in the show. Right. Barbara Dixon had gotten a big break from the previous Russell musical, The Beatles, John, Paul, George, Ringo, ... and Bert. So she had this connection with Russell. So she starred in the show for him as Mrs. Johnston. The reports on the success at the Liverpool Playhouse, again, differ. If you go to Willie Russell's website, huge success, standing ovations every night. Oh my God. If you look at some other sources, they're like, like it did not bomb, but it wasn't like the biggest success the Liverpool Playhouse ever had. But still, Bob Swash had a lot of faith in the show, so they moved it to the Lyric Theater on April 11th, 1983. Oh, I meant to say this as well. I already did one correction in the Phantom episode, which I recorded before the Cats episode came out. But there's another one that I was wrong on since the Cats episode came out, and some people have informed me that I was wrong, so I'll say it now. T.S. Eliot's widow's name was Valerie, not Victoria, not Vicky. Valerie, Val. So sorry about it, guys. I never said I was smart or well-read. I simply said that I was an asshole.
I turned it off at that point in the show. I just could not continue on.
How dare you? That is Valerie Erasure.
That's
Amy
right.
Winehouse's song is all about knowing that I was going to have Valerie Erasure. That's why she wrote Valerie. Now I own the Amy Winehouse estate, like $10 million. Okay. So opened in April of 1983. The show was a very hard sell. It had a really hard time catching an audience, especially because Cats had been on the scene for about 2 years at this point, and the whole idea of the mega musical was starting to take form. We had some other shows that were kind of going for spectacle over text, let's say, like the intimate, indie musical was not really what people were interested in. So it only ran for about 6 months, but what ended up happening was they started selling out the last month or so of the run because they were given their notice like halfway through the run. They got another show booked in the theater after them, and they made a pop cover of the final song, Tell Me It's Not True, with Barbara Dixon, which they released just like hoping to get some interest in the show. It ended up being like a huge runaway pop single. The show starts selling out at the end of the run, and they didn't have enough time to figure out how to extend it, how to find a new theater. So they had to close the show after 6 months, even though like the last 3 months was like standing room only, standing ovation. Yeah. Exactly. But they do win the Olivier Award this year for Best New Musical. They win over Little Shop of Horrors, which is interesting to me. Yeah.
The original run over in the UK?
The original run of Blood Brothers in 1983 beat Little Shop of Horrors, which had just transferred over for the Olivier, although Little Shop did run for a full 2 years. Like the year before Blood Brothers won, the winner for Best Musical was Poppy, which was a costume spectacle from the Royal Shakespeare Company about the first Opium War. So that's a yikes. And then the year before that was Cats. So, like this is where the trends were going. Shows like Blood Brothers were not really what they assumed people weren't going to be interested in. But then a year or so later, producer Bill Kenwright acquires the rights to Blood Brothers and produces a very critically acclaimed national tour in 1987. He gets Willie Russell to come see it. He's very impressed. He agrees to make a couple of changes to the script for Kenwright, who I think also co-directed this production. And they're touring around the UK, and Kenwright's like, listen, Willie, sweetie, baby, boo-boo child. Audiences are really liking this. We're selling out. I think we should bring this back to the West End. And Willie's like, no, we got burned. This won't do well again. I couldn't take the heartbreak. So he keeps pushing it back. And finally, Bill's like, Willie, like, you haven't seen the show in like 7 months. Come again. Like, come see it in Manchester. We're in this like really big theater. We're completely sold out. See how it plays in a really big theater. And I swear we're going to put it in another small theater on the West End, but only if you approve. He comes to see it. He's very impressed. He's like, what am I doing? Like, people are liking this. There's clearly interest. Plus, he's like, I can get more money. So they bring it to the West End. They bring it to the Albury Theater, which is now the Noel Coward Theater, on July 28th, 1988, with Kiki D and Con O'Neill leading the cast. Remember Con O'Neill? He'll come up in just a second.
Yeah. Kiki D, by the way.
Yes.
She is the one that's in the video that you sent to me.
That's the entire original company of that new production.
I felt like such an idiot because, of course, I didn't look it up. But I'm like halfway through that, I'm like, why does her voice sound so freaking like in my brain? Like I know this from somewhere. And then finally, as I was exiting out of the YouTube, like, oh, it's Kiki D. That's why I know who this person is.
What are some of her big songs? Because she was like a pop singer, wasn't she?
Yeah, honestly, I should just put the only one I really know is her collaboration with Elton John. Don't go breaking my heart. Like
There
that's
you go.
like that's how I know her.
Sure.
But,
I mean, this show has a long history of pop singers
yeah.
coming in
Well,
and singing.
I mean, you mentioned how Willie was all about singer songwriter before he even transferred into script writing and stuff.
Mhm.
But that's what I felt while watching this. Like, oh, all of these are basically a pop standard song that you could release onto the radio. Like it feels very much like that. It's like, oh, I'm listening to Joy Division for a moment here now, and then now I'm off to this one.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I think is both to its credit and like my criticism I have, I think, overall of the show. But anyways.
Yeah. We'll get there. Let's just get this fucking show to Broadway, and then we'll goddamn talk about this goddamn show. So, as I said, opens at the Albury, huge hit right off the bat. This is also for any listeners who started at the beginning of this series. You'll remember this theater, the Albury Theater, as where Oliver first premiered. Although I think at that time it was called the Players Theater. Mm-hmm. Don't call me on that.
By the way, because of your episode, I watched the movie Oliver for the first time this week as well. So. Mm-hmm. You're welcome. I liked it. It was good. This is gonna sound so bad. This will also come back actually up in our discussion. I have this weird aversion where I don't like listening to kids sing.
Totally fair.
So the person who portrays Oliver, I'm like, I could take you or leave you. But the rest of it is great. I like the rest of it.
Well, this show doesn't actually have any children in it. It has adults pretending to be children, which is why I did the voice I did at the beginning of this episode. It's very Monty Python. I don't want to marry her father. It's very that.
That's right.
So they're playing at the Albury for 3 years. They are nominated again for Musical of the Year because the Oliviers have weird category placements. And so like they end up losing to the Scottish Opera's production of Candide playing at the Old Vic. And I don't even know if this was the first time Candide had played on the West End. Like maybe because there weren't enough new musicals, they just called it Musical of the Year, not New Musical.
That would have been
Best New Musical.
What year would that have been in?
88.
If that is the Scottish production that is on YouTube of Candide, that's a little bit of a robbery almost because I really dislike that production. But maybe I'm alone in that too.
I don't know. It might or might not be. There's a recording of the Scottish Opera's production, I think that's in 89. So whatever that recording is, that cast recording, I think that's representative. I don't know about what's on YouTube, but I love me some British theater, and sometimes they do a musical quite nicely. Sometimes they don't. The things they choose to succeed sometimes makes me go, okay. The show does not win. It loses to Candide, but Con O'Neill, who plays Mickey, does win the Olivier for his performance. He wins actor in a musical. The show then transfers to the slightly larger Phoenix Theater in 1991. That's where the West End version of Come From Away is currently playing. Then it does not come to Broadway immediately, which is actually very rare for these British transfers, because usually the show comes within 2 to 3 years. Sometimes even like a year. So like Phantom comes to Broadway like within 15 months, Les Mis within 15 months, Cats within a year. I think the longest other than this one is Billy Elliot, which comes to Broadway from the West End in like 3 years. Blood Brothers takes 5 years to get to Broadway.
Yeah, it's a while.
Yeah, it's a long time, especially considering just how successful it's been on the West End up to this point. But I think part of it is that the show, while it was very successful there, it did not become the internationally recognized show that Cats, Phantom, and Les Mis were. They didn't, Tell Me It's Not True, it was very popular on the pop charts there. It was not popular everywhere else.
Right.
So they opened it in Australia where it does well. Then they do a pre-Broadway tryout in Canada with this cast. Who's to say how well it does there before they bring it to Broadway? But it does eventually come to Broadway on April 23rd, 1993 at the Music Box Theater, starring Stephanie Lawrence as Mrs. Johnstone, who had done it. She did not open this production on the West End, but she did play Mrs. Johnstone for 3 years. She also was a replacement of Evita. She's the original Pearl, I think is her name, in Starlight Express.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. The one who's like, go, Rusty, go. Con O'Neill repeats his performance as Mickey. Warwick Evans repeats his performance as the
narrator.
useless
Oh my
narrator.
God, I'm so glad you're so aligned with me. It's like, what are you doing here? What is up with this?
Will we get to it. And then there's a couple of other English actors are in this production. It's mostly noted for me as Carrie Butler's Broadway debut. She's in the ensemble, understudies the sister, and then she eventually comes back into the show and understudies the love interest. Barbara Walsh goes straight from falsettos into this show as Mrs. Lyons, the antagonist, and Brian Darcy James. I don't think he makes his debut in this, or maybe he does, but he's a replacement ensemble member and understudies Mickey. At this point, also when Blood Brothers came to Broadway, Willie Russell had written another play, a one-woman show called Shirley Valentine, which had come to Broadway in '89, I think, and had done quite well. It ran for a year, was nominated for Best Play at the Tony Awards. Might even have had the movie version come out before Blood Brothers finally came to Broadway. Yeah. So he wrote a whole nother play which had a movie version in the time it took for Blood Brothers to go from the West End to Broadway. So as I said, it opens April 23rd, 1993. What happens after that, we will get to. So, Kyle.
Yes.
What is Blood Brothers about?
I mean, I guess I could answer that in two ways versus like, what is the plot versus what is it about? I personally think it is about whether or not we control fate or fate controls us, if I wanted to be all literary about it. What it is actually about is a woman who becomes pregnant with twins. Her husband leaves her. And the rich lady she's working for as a housekeeper is unable to have kids. So they concoct this plan where each of them will keep one of the sons. And because the poor woman is superstitious, the rich woman convinces her that if they ever were to discover that they are twins that were separated, that both of them will die. Stuff happens. They discover that they're brothers and then they die.
Yeah.
That's basically the show.
That is, yeah. It's like Parent Trap meets
I said
Oliver. Parent Trap meets Oliver.
Like the other,
with some Thatcherism in there.
Some light Thatcherism. I thought of Macbeth too a little bit, which is like a prophecy that's foretold. It only becomes a reality because someone obsesses over the prophecy so much that they actually fulfill it by the end of the show. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff I think that's wrapped up into this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, so like the two brothers, they are separated at birth. And if before anyone comes from Mrs. Johnstone who has the twins, like, how could she do it? She did have 6 other kids and no husband. And she was already saying like, she worked it out that she could manage with 7 because she was pregnant. She's like, I can make a 7th work. I figured it out. I've adjusted the finances. Plus, I guess, they were living on welfare. Plus, with the new job. Then when she found out she was having twins, she was like, there's no way I can do that. That's going to break everything. I don't know what I'm going to do. On top of that, welfare is on to me. So if I have 2 more kids, they're really going to be on my case. So she was desperate. And then Mrs. Lyons,
I know that not to get super political with this show, but like this takes place in the 70s, like that part of the show.
I think that part takes place in the 60s, actually.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. But why ease of access to birth control is a good thing, because then you don't have unplanned stress in your life.
Yes, because so our opening number, for being really honest here, we have a quote unquote overture that goes on for fucking ever. Because it's not even really an overture. It's just a lot of tones. It's just mood setting music. It's underscoring.
I was originally listening to this score on just earbuds, and I turned it on. And I was like, it says it's playing, but I don't hear anything. I actually had to like turn on just from the speakers. Like, oh, it's just like, like a long sustained note.
For the intro for this, I will be cutting out the first 9 seconds of the quote unquote overture for our intro, as it is mostly silence. I will begin it right when the music starts. But even then, it's not going to be all that exciting because it's just, again, it's chords, it's notes, and then eventual humming of the finale. And then the narrator comes in and says some rhyming couplets. Again, very Shakespearean. And then we go into the real opening number, which is called Marilyn Monroe. Now, why is it called Marilyn Monroe, you might ask? Well, Mrs. Johnstone informs us that when she was young and pretty, she met a man who wooed her and seduced her. And his main line was that she was prettier than Marilyn Monroe.
He said me eyes were deep blue pools, my skin as soft as snow.
Lovely.
He told me I was sexier than Marilyn Monroe. And we went dancing.
And then she gets knocked up, or as she says, in the club. And they get married. Everyone says the bride is lovelier than Marilyn Monroe. She has the kid and she gets pregnant right after that next kid because, as you said, not readily available birth control, probably also misinformation on fertility.
Right.
Yes. They are young. They are working class. They probably were not told the correct things about how to not get pregnant.
Correct.
So she gets pregnant almost immediately after baby number one. And then that's sort of a rinse and repeat for about 6 years. She keeps on getting pregnant. And then eventually no more dancing, because by the time she was 25, she looked like she was 42. And her husband said, now you're twice the size of Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. He's an asshole, I guess we have to say. Like a real piece of work.
He's on stage. He's a plot device. He goes off.
Mm-hmm.
He's a jerk. I'm assuming the sex was good. That's why she stayed with him. And, whenever things got bad, he was just like, come on, baby. You're like a sorry, hold on. Let me put on my Liverpoolian accent. Come on, baby. You look just like Marilyn Monroe. That's a terrible Liverpoolian, but there we go. Marilyn Monroe. And then she gets pregnant one last time. And then he goes off with a girl she is told looks like
Marilyn Monroe.
Now, you might say that's a little much. Coming back to it, like we're going back to that well a couple of times in this number. Fasten your seatbelts, because that well
keep drawn from.
Yep. We're drawing dirt out of that fucker. Like, and still claiming it is a nice, cool glass of Poland Spring. She gets a job with Mrs. Lyons, who's a wealthy woman. And sorry, I already am thinking about when Mrs. Lyons like casually puts her new purchase, which is new shoes, on the table.
And then
Mrs. Johnson
freaks the fuck out, like just loses her shit. And I was watching, of course, like the YouTube rip of this production. I was like, whoa, like what is happening?
Because it's so intense the way she does it.
So intense. And I feel, not that I'm a superstitious person, but I seem to know like every superstition. I've never heard of this one either, about putting new shoes on the table. It was spilled salt or something like that. I'm like, sure, yeah. But anyways, that's her thing.
Yeah, maybe it's a British thing. I know it was definitely the first one I had ever heard. And there were other superstitions that they talked about in the show. I can't remember all of them. And obviously the Lions one is fake. She made it up.
Yeah, she makes it up.
And like, it's one of those things where it's like, so I've talked about this at this point. I've already talked about it with Cats, Les Mis, Phantom. When we're picking apart a show, it's usually because the overall understanding is that the storytelling just doesn't work for us, right? We're not taken in the way that others might be with this show, which is why we can sort of see the flaws that maybe others are willing to ignore. When a show is good and hits you in an emotional spot, which a lot of these British shows can do, they hit you in a chemical way that some shows that are maybe better constructed and more intellectual and more far-reaching can't. But with this show, I feel like they're trying to get into our psyche and trying to get us where we're uncomfortable. So we're always just sort of on the edge of our seats. And it's just so much so quickly. Like they're just throwing so much intense like melodrama at us so hard. And they're underlining everything. So like when she says like, you put new shoes on the table, like the lights change, there's a giant chord from the orchestra, and then to top it all off, the narrator comes on, he's like new shoes on the table. Who's to say if it's real or not? Are you to say? Are you? The devil's got your number. Spider on the wall. And I'm like, what the flying fuck?
Like, what is happening here? I mean, to answer, I don't know if you want to answer this question yet. Like, did you ever get a emotional response from the show?
No. I can imagine if I saw this on Broadway, I probably would at least get some chills from the finale, only because it is a pleasant song. And to hear 15 brilliant singers shout it in my face, into my mouth, I probably would get a couple of chills from it, even if I was like, this is a little ridiculous.
Tell me it's not true.
feel like most of my problems are in Act 1, which is actually weird because usually I have Act 2 problems is usually where I like focus in on the show.
Yeah.
I think it takes way too long to get to the point in the show where they do so much building, and you need a little bit of that. Don't get me wrong. It's good to understand that she has superstitions, and that's what Mrs. Lyons like feeds into, and then she gives up her child. But it takes forever to get to the point where it's like, okay, now they're two young kids, they're meeting, they're friends, all that stuff. But even though a lot of this wasn't working for me, I did have that emotional response in the final song. For whatever reason, that final song like totally hits me. I was like, oh, like this is actually really good. I wish you could take the rest of it up.
Yeah, it's a good melody. I've now, so I've okay.
But some of the lyrics are garbage. I'll get to that too.
There are a couple that are garbage. There's also one, I think it is garbage. One of the songs, it's actually, I realized, is used 3 times the melody. But I can't tell if it's like objectively garbage or if it's just because I tie it to a spoof kind of song in South Park that I'm not even sure if South Park is literally spoofing this song or just this kind of song, but I'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
The finale. So, okay. I have watched this live once in my teens and thought it was fine. Watched this YouTube version now twice in preparation for this episode, read the script and listened to 3 different cast recordings. I listened to the 80s London one, the like not really Broadway, but kind of Broadway one, and then the international recording with Petula Clark and the Cassidys. And while the finale does have something about it, it also does not build, in my opinion, to a satisfying conclusion, mostly because it's a song it's a one statement song, which a lot of these British shows are very guilty of doing, of taking one statement, repeating it for 3.5 minutes. And if you're lucky, there's a chord progression, but not always. Sometimes there's a key change, but not always. And like, my God, are we going to see this with the next show that I cover in the next episode? But
which is what?
Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
But with this, like for Tell Me It's Not True, it's literally just
tell me it's not true. And
tell me it's not true. Repeat. Yeah.
I think what it is, and it really keyed into me in the Tony's performance. And this is often true where like I can listen to a song on a cast album, but it hits me differently when I actually finally see it performed, where like that Mrs. Johnstone character is giving a lot to that performance, and like she's breaking down while she's singing this. And so I think it's carried on that performance. But yeah, just as a vocal, like listening to it, I don't know if it automatically gets transferred, like how devastated she actually is. Yes,
her performance in that Tony's makes sense in context of the show, especially in the style that the show is presented in. Like, I'm watching it and I'm not like, my God, she's really going for it. I'm like, no, I totally understand how this works in the show. That having been said, it's more just like, it's just everyone, especially because like you have the 2 brothers, Eddie and Mickey, lying dead on the stage as she's singing. Then they get the fuck up and everyone just stands together and shouts in your face, say it's not true. It's just like, tell me it's a story on the radio. And then, in case we forgot about that fucker of a well, it's a movie with Marilyn Monroe, right? Tell me it's not true. At this point, the Phantom episode will have come out, and I talk about this with Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again. Well, it's a really pretty song.
Yeah.
It's literally just Christine for 4 verses going, "You're dead and I miss you. You're dead and I miss you. You're dead and I miss you."
Yeah, there's no change in character.
Exactly. The last line is her saying, like, I need to let go. But that's the literal last line of the song, which it has one step over Tell Me It's Not True, because Tell Me It's Not True doesn't even end with a line being like, but it is true. It ends with, say it's just a story with Marilyn Monroe.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't know if I should jump ahead because I know we're going through the plot.
The structure is gone of the show. Jump all over.
Here's my biggest problem with that song. And maybe I am being so incredibly literal with this, but this is actually what bugs me about that last line. Tell me it's of an old movie from long ago. Or sorry, they're talking about how, like, tell me this isn't true. Like, it's just pretend, specifically about these 2 people killing themselves. Tell me it's about an old movie long ago from an old movie with Marilyn Monroe. What movie with Marilyn Monroe ends this way?
Some Like It Hot.
There is not.
You look at the subtext.
I guess maybe. I don't know why it bugs me so much, but it's like, you need to tell me what movie you're referencing in this, because this feels like a bit of a cheat that you're doing here.
I don't know if Marilyn Monroe was ever in a movie that had a dead body in it.
Mhm.
I don't think so. But again, it's more that they're just tying it back to that, I guess, that metaphor. Yeah, it's I was about to say theme. Marilyn's not a theme in the show. She's a metaphor that's constantly used in the show.
Oh, constantly.
Yes, and so yes, we're gonna jump all over the place, but
Okay.
yes. Is there a song in the show you do like, Kyle?
Oh,
Besides mostly that song?
I mean, it's mostly Tell Me It's Not True. I do like it. Probably the next closest is probably, oh God, is it Easy Terms? I think that's the one I'm thinking of.
That's the song
The
after she's
Never
had the
Never.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah. So I again, it's more like the melody that I'm enjoying on this because, okay, this is the other big thing of me coming across as like super pretentious. So I host a show about Stephen Sondheim. And if you want to see him go the fuck off on something, talk to him about things that don't actually rhyme in songs, but kind of get close. This whole show is filled with them about words that they don't actually rhyme. And that's kind of the biggest thing that kind of bugs me with it. I'm wondering if I can just very quickly see if I can find, right there. So living on the Never Never, constant as the changing weather, which is like kind of, but that's not an exact rhyme.
It's the wrong consonant.
Yeah. So anyways, it's the whole thing is filled, but that is true for pop music, which is what Willie is coming from. So I get why it's all throughout this entire show, but it's like, I think if you had tried a little bit harder, it would have worked. Anyways, this is the example of a song I actually like. So
yeah, Kyle likes the song and he's
terms.
still dragging it for filth.
Living on the never, never, constant as the changing weather, never sure who's at the door, or the price I'll have to pay.
This is a show for me where I actually would argue I think this would make a good movie if you cut out all the songs and the narrator and just made it like a melodramatic, fun, like kind of pulpy story.
Sure.
Like keep it flowing. I really like the Act 1 finale.
That's another good one. Yeah, I do like that.
What's it called? Starting all over again?
I think it's actually called Long Sunday Afternoon. Oh no, Bright New Day.
Bright New Day. Yeah, because not Brand New Day. Bright New Day.
Bright New Day.
Sunday Afternoon or Long Sunday Afternoon. I actually don't like that one at all. That's too. So there's a thing with the orchestrations with this show that there's no other way for me to describe it other than Skinamax saxophone. Which, if you live in America, Skinamax is the movie channel Cinemax, which after around 11 o'clock starts to show softcore porn, and there's usually a saxophone playing while they grind up against each other. And so it's that Skinamax saxophone.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, it's there, and it's constant in the show to the point where it got very distracting. And Long Sunday Afternoon is the one where I'm like really hearing it, being like, "Oh Jesus Christ!" Especially because the character Mickey's supposed to be like 7 when he's singing that song.
I know, and like that's what came out of nowhere. Because before that, like he is kind of singing like a kid would.
Yeah.
Which I realize also that I preface this where I don't like hearing kids sing, but in like a, I don't know, spelling bee or like You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown sort of way, it's like, no, it's working within the context of the show of an adult singing like a kid. And he does that and like, whoa, you've just aged up 20 years. Like, what is happening?
Long Sunday. I don't know how it goes anymore. It's like afternoon. But yeah. So for anyone who doesn't really know the show and is like really fucking confused, essentially, Mrs. Lyons has like regrets of letting Mrs. Johnstone near the babies when they're born because she has twins, Eddie and Mickey, 2 boys. And Mrs. Lyons finally is like, you have to go. Here's some money. Get out. And she tells her the superstition, as Kyle already mentioned, because we've established Mrs. Johnstone is very superstitious, even though she doesn't think so. It's actually something I really like about the scene, which isn't intentionally funny in a show that actually has a lot of humor to it, like, and I think is used rather well. This is a moment where I'm like, oh, they're not trying to be funny, but it's hysterical. So when like Mrs. Johnstone freaks the fuck out about the shoes on the table, the new shoes on the table, and Mrs. Lyons like, are you superstitious? And she's like, no. It's like, Yes, you are, bitch. But like you just started beating your chest because your employer put new shoes on a table. Anyway, when Mrs. Lyons tells her the superstition to get her to fuck off, they go their separate ways, and Eddie and Mickey never meet. Mrs. Johnston's true to her word. She never meets Eddie. But then when Eddie's like 7 or so, he just, I guess, randomly walks around like the poor neighborhood of the town, because they live, I guess, like sort of on the outskirts of London. Like they live in I don't think they live like in the city, but they don't live in the countryside. Like they live in in a suburb maybe. And Mickey lives in the bad area of town, which is maybe a little more like metropolis like. Yeah. And Eddie's, I guess, wanders his way down there from his lovely home. He and Mickey become best friends almost immediately, partly because they're 7 and partly because they realize they share the same birthday.
Correct.
And at that very moment, they become blood brothers, which is very quick for a show that took forever for us to get to this moment, to get to the title.
Yeah.
Dragging out the whole origin story. And the characters of Eddie and Mickey are played.
I'd like to envision there being a theater goer back when this first debuted, and they get to that point like, oh, that's the name of the show. I get this now.
Have you ever watched Family Guy, Kyle?
Oh yes, yeah.
There's an episode where Brian writes a play. It's called A Passing Fancy.
Right.
And towards the end of Act 1, I think it's like about a married couple, and one of them wants to be a writer. You don't know the whole plot, and like part of the joke is how like the play's not very good, but the audience at Quahog is eating it up and they're reacting the way that an audience would. And at one point, he's like, "I wrote a script. It's called A Passing Fancy." And someone goes, "Oh, that's the name of this play." And then at the end of Act 2, and it's all over, and he's successful, and his wife's leaving him. She's like, "Isn't it funny? All this time, I was the passing fancy." And someone in the audience goes, "Ah."
I know.
So you can just imagine when the show premiered, and it's like, "Let's be blood brothers." Someone in the audience goes,
"Oh, yeah,
that's the name of this play." But it's like in Phantom when someone goes, "The Phantom." Some of you have heard the strange tale of the Phantom of the Opera, and someone goes, "We have." Like, tell us more. Right. But so yeah, I also wonder if there was someone in the audience when after that whole long prologue leading up to them as children, and then we have the scene where they become blood brothers, someone goes, "That's a bit fast. I want 10 more minutes of exposition before we get there."
10 more minutes of this child's play.
And the actors who play Mickey and Eddie play them throughout their entire lives. So even though they're 7, they're played by like men in their late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah. I mean, a very theatrical thing. I actually watched the production first because I wanted to kind of go in blind, like not knowing what the story was at all, and just see how it worked. For a moment, I thought what was going to happen is that the same actor was going to play both brothers back and forth. I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of interesting. It was like, oh no, that's not where this is going at all.
Jekyll and Hyde. No, to be fair to you, Con O'Neill in that video, the way he's doing Mickey's like whole rant before Eddie comes on stage makes it seem like that's where the show is going. He's doing what I can only describe as performance art. Part of it is that he's so committed to playing this child in this very specific theatrical stylized way, very sort of panto. But also like the writing is weirdly kind of like stylized in a play that does not have much stylized dialogue. So I'm like, what's going on here? But then then Eddie comes out and they bond. Eddie gives him his sweeties. They become blood brothers. Mrs. Johnstone comes out and she realizes who Eddie is. She's like, you probably shouldn't be around here. Eddie informs his mother where he's been, and if Mrs. Johnson is like cagey and trying to not get too involved, Mrs. Lyons has become like paranoid up the butt.
She like gets steadily more and more unhinged as this show goes on, which I think, to the show's credit, is also exploring like class systems inside of Britain and stuff at the time as well. But still goes on. Doesn't have to be just of the time, but that is actually kind of the element of the production that I enjoyed. Was it starts off as her being so kind, like, I'll take this child, like it fits both of our issues, but she turns very quickly to be like, never are you supposed to see this person, cut them out of our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like convinces her husband to fire Mrs. Johnson in the prologue. Like, Mrs. Lyons might have the arc I like the most because she is the villain of the story, but she is very endearing at the beginning. And her idea, while it's, terrible in the sense of you're separating two children, like you see where she's coming from. It is not totally selfless. She's not just helping out Mrs. Johnstone, but it does benefit her as well. And for a while, she's like, you can still work here, you can still see the kid, but like no one can ever know. And the reason why Mrs. Lyons is able to get away with it is very conveniently her husband has just left for a business trip for like 8 or 9 months, and he's just left. So she's like, he could have gotten me pregnant right before he left, and I'll put a pillow in and everyone will see, and then we'll have the babies. And
he's doing business stuff with business things with business people. Busy
business. He's wealthy, he's rich. They're rich people. That's all you need to know. They're rich, very rich.
I mean, to be fair, we don't really need to know. It's just like, yeah, they're rich people.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing with, all these British shows where it's like, it doesn't matter what he does. Just they're wealthy. The Johnstons are not. End of story. And like, it does not improve the show if there's an extra line of like, oh, well, I'm doing the thing at the place. Like, we don't need it. Especially in a show this long. Like, just.
Right.
Anywho, but yes, Mrs. Lyons gets so paranoid, she convinces everyone that they're going to move out to the country to get Eddie and Mickey away. Eddie and Mickey, Mickey sings Skinamax.
Maybe everybody packed their bags and moved away. It's gonna be a
Well, is it Long Sunday Afternoon?
Sunday Afternoon.
Long Sunday Afternoon, which then goes into My Best Friend, which is the same melody as My Son or My Child or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And this is the song that fucks me up in a not sad way. Like, I laugh when I hear it because it's supposed to. My Best Friend is supposed to sort of be like melancholy-esque, but they are children, so the song's still kind of like peppy, but the way that it's done is like
my best friend, he could swear like a soldier, he laughed till you died, the stories he told you, he was untidy from Monday to Friday. I wish that I could.
It reminds me of an episode of South Park. My references are all over the place, but that's why we love this podcast, right?
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned Sex in the City yet, but I'm sure I will. The episode is young.
I have a tally sheet in front of me. I'm just checking them off as we go along. So
thank you so much. There's an episode of South Park where Cartman pretends to be a robot named Osimo to troll Butters. And when they do stuff together, Butters sings a song.
Hey there, have you heard about my robot friend? He's metal and small and doesn't judge me at all. He's a cyber wire bundle of joy, my robot friend.
And the two songs are so alike that I cannot not hear it. So even when they're like, funny. I miss my best friend, and it's like, ba-da-da-ba, ba-da-ba, I just start laughing and I think of Butters. I'm like, and now I imagine Butters and Eric Cartman as Osimo doing this number.
I mean, eventually they'll probably make that episode, I'm sure.
They have to.
This is actually kind of a. I mean, you're talking about like that sense memory that you're having. It is a kind of a funny song too at the same time. So they're like intentionally so, I should say, too. Like, it's trying to be funny as these two kids are trying to reconcile with their feelings.
Yes, I miss my best friend and hear all the things that he was great at. And like, they're 7, so the things that they talk about are very sort of surface level stuff. Mickey, oh, my best friend knew all the words in the dictionary. Eddie, my best friend was dirty and smelled, but I loved him.
But I loved him.
Yeah.
Dictionary, by the way, is how they pronounce that in the song lyric.
Dictionary.
Dictionary. They add a syllable.
Dictionary.
It feels like there is only kind of like 3 songs in this show that kind of get like, I don't know, lengthened into multiple different songs. Because there's some songs, like, gun to my head, I was like, I don't know if I could say the difference with the melody. Like, it almost goes all together for me.
Yeah, it kind of goes in and then out. I think that's the reason why I like Bright New Day, why you probably like Easy Terms, because they're not really repeated ever again.
Right.
Marilyn Monroe's repeated a bunch. Devil's Got Your Numbers repeated a bunch, which is like, that is just the narrator. I talk about the narrator like he is cognizant of what he's doing. Like, Willie Russell wrote this character and decided how many times to bring this character in. But it's the narrator being like, I'm here too, and I'm saying words and I'm telling you I'm important by singing The Devil's Got Your Number. And he's just like, it's hard to tell if he's actually the character's psyche sort of turning against them, or if he's just also like standing in for the audience to talk. So like every time Mrs. Lyons kind of goes deeper into madness. He like kind of comes out, he's like, getting
Yeah.
crazier, aren't you? And I'm like,
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing about it though is like, I feel like conflicted a little bit because I actually really like. I think it's Warwick Evans. I think it's Warwick Evans. Is
yeah,
the
Warwick
person who
Evans.
portrays him.
Warwick Evans is his name. Yes.
And I actually like his voice and his like his vocal performance. They put like an extra echo on his voice, so I like that. But then it's like every time he comes out, I was like, you have added nothing to the progression of this story that they couldn't have just sung themselves. So it feels like a weird addition to this story. Like the narrator serves no functional purpose from what I can tell.
Yeah, this is not a narrator in Joseph's situation. This is a narrator in, I don't know, where's something where the narrator is totally pointless. In Blood Brothers, I suppose. I don't want to. Warwick Evans in the video does about as good a job as anyone can do with this part. He is also like, he's not underlining everything himself. He's not like coming in and being like, get it. Like he's actually very dry and reserved, which I like. It's the show and the production that's like, again, light change. Orchestra does a huge chord every time he says or does something. And it's like, we get it. What he's saying is important. Maybe like don't draw that much attention to it. By the 9th time, we are starting to get numb to it.
Right.
That took me forever to say that word.
I mean, in a way, I would love it if someone walked around and followed me, and every time I did something, it was like getting a little bit more mad, huh? And just like like turn towards a non-existent audience, and as I stumbled further and further into mania.
Yeah, I mean, imagine a narrator in Hamlet, like every 5, not even every 30 pages, every 5 pages, every 4 pages, coming on stage and being like, so things are going pretty crazy here, huh? And like with the ghost coming on,
things are kind of going off the rails, don't you think? Weird.
This is weird, isn't it? And that's I think that's how Tom Stoppard ended up writing Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead.
Right,
he's like, I could do a narrator, or I could just write it from their perspective. Or like when the ghost comes on in Hamlet, and he's like, but was it a ghost? And it's like, I don't know. Let us decide for ourselves.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember where this is from. It could be a South Park thing now that I think of it. Anyways, I always remember it, which is it's an old Simpsons episode is what it's from.
That also works.
Where they were satirizing behind the music. And I always remember it because it's like, did they actually kill him? Yes, they did. No, they didn't. Maybe they did. Find out after the break. It's like, that's what the narrator feels like. It's this oscillation back and forth. It's like, they're crazy. They're probably going to kill someone. Are they? Who knows? Who's to say? They are.
That's just what the narrator does. He comes out and he's like, is it a superstition? Is it just fate? Is it because of class? Is it because of Thatcher? Is it because you're crazy? Is it because of those shoes on the table? Who's to say? And like walks off stage and like, what did you add just now?
Yeah. Are you an easy breezy cover girl? And then the makeup commercial starts. It's weird. That was the weirdest part in the show, I thought.
Yeah, I think when he opened Act 2 and said, "Are you worth it?" and then brought out a L'Oreal bottle, I was like, wow, interesting. Way to bring in
placement. All right.
Wow. That's where Legally Blonde got it from. They're like, what if we did Blood Brothers, but instead of murder, it was law school?
Shoes upon the table and a spider's been killed. Someone broke the looking glass. There's a full moon shining and the salt's been spilled. You're walking on pavement cracks. Don't know what's gonna come to pass. Now you know the devil's got your number.
When they go out to the country, Mrs. Lyons brings her family out to the country. She's like, we're getting away from the other people. And then, because fate is a bitch, fate is an ironic bitch who loves to troll us humans, Mrs. Johnstone and her family end up moving out to that exact same country, like this town in the country as the Lyons. But like, it's never explained why. I think if you live in England, like you understand what happened to them.
So yeah, from what I can understand, it was like it's a government program. Like they went into government housing. Yeah. But it was cheaper for them to go and live in the country than it would be for them to be put up in the city.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. It was government housing in the country. Like if there's a lot of them.
This is though like a big, I find like English tradition. Like Dickens did this all the time in his stories, which is like, but what if there was just a coincidence that they ran into each other again? Like there never really feels like an earned reason why they kind of run into each other. Like, what if they just, for whatever reason, run into each other again? Then what? And then you write the rest of the story.
To be fair to Blood Brothers, it takes Eddie and Mickey 7 years to run into each other the first time, and then another 7 years to run into each other the second time. So I will give Russell credit for that. But of course, but it is also like, what are the odds, eh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, Dickens does that very thing with Oliver Twist, where it's like, they had to kidnap Oliver back for reasons. But then why do they keep him? Because reasons.
Yeah. And he just so happens to be, looked after by the guy whose niece ran away, and all that kind of stuff that gets roped into it.
Yeah, we talked about it in the episode, but yeah, like in the book, it's a much more complicated, stupid history, and in the movies and the show, they're like, fuck it, he's his grandkid. Like,
whatever, who cares?
Again, British culture, it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, don't worry about it, just keep watching the show.
Yes,
that's not the point. I as I said earlier, I do think the reason I like Bright New Day so much is it's one of the few up tempos in this fucker.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I don't think it's ever used again. And so it's just a nice, welcome new melody. Even if I always was confused as to what was happening again, because they don't say anything. In fact, like if you watch the video or you watch clips from the Broadway production, and she's like, we're moving away. And the kids are like, why, Mom? And she doesn't answer them.
I know. It's like, we're just moving away.
Yeah. They're like, why are we leaving? And she was like, we're starting all over again. You didn't answer my question. But Mrs. Johnstone knows West End theater. And she's like, don't worry about it.
Exactly. You're asking too many questions.
Although I do love where they're like, I'm going to go get Linda. Linda, we're moving. Us too. It's like,
right. Yeah.
Everyone's moving to the country. The country's where it's happening. It's popping. The country is popping.
Then they jump into the Muppets truck and they're off into the country, and it's great.
Oh my God. I would give for the Muppets to do a cover of that song, and they're in the bus and they're driving away.
Yeah.
That would be phenomenal. So, okay. First I was going to say, like, who would we cast from South Park in a production of Blood Brothers? Who would we cast from the Muppets?
Yeah, right. I mean, you have to have the pigs in there somewhere. So,
well, Miss Piggy is Mrs. Lyons. You'd think she's Mrs. Johnson. She can't be. I think Mrs. Johnson might be the one human in this production.
That's right. By the way, another little side note is, as I did research, is like the vocal performance of Kiki D in that performance. Like, as I was going through like my list, it's like, where do I know this voice? Where do I know this voice? For a moment, it's like, it sounds like Helen Reddy, but that's not Helen Reddy. And then I find out that Helen Reddy is actually in the show. I'm like, oh, well, like that was perfect casting then.
Oh, yeah. And so did Mel from the Spice Girls. Like a lot of pop singers went into this show, which is crazy because, like, yes, it is Mrs. Johnson's the most vocal part in the show. I wouldn't even say it's like the most vocally impressive. It's much more of a chanteuse kind of vocal range.
Yeah.
But also, like, it requires some acting. Like, this is not something.
Yeah.
This is not like the show this is not the role you give someone who wants to try acting out for the first time. Like you give them the husband who pisses off as, like, training. Like, yeah, come on, be an asshole for 90 seconds and then fuck off.
Pass your check and
be a pompous
the bows
alpha
at
male.
the end.
Yeah, be a pompous alpha male, and then you get to be Mrs. Johnston. Do we ever find out her first name, or is she just always Mrs. J?
I think someone does, but I cannot remember it off the top of my head.
Bethany. We're going to call her Bethany.
Well, are you going to say it's Marilyn? Actually, that's
that would be the worst thing of all time if her name was actually Marilyn. Because Willie Russell would be like, if it wasn't clear enough for anyone, and then there's going to be that one person in the audience who's like, Marilyn. Like, it'll take like 5 years later in the shower, like, oh my God, because Marilyn Monroe. I'm like, you're the reason why he put that in there, because you didn't get it. I agree. I think Act 2 is really where the show kind of hits its stride, and even then it's like kind of bumpy, but like it's funnier. It has a lot more.
I mean, I'm thinking of even then, like that song "Take a Letter, Mrs. Jones."
That's another song I like a great deal.
Yeah, that's a great song. Although it really should be called "Changing of the Times," but Sign of the Times.
There are a lot of songs here that deserve new titles. In fact, I believe "Devil's Got Your Number" is now called "Shoes on the Table."
Yeah, which is like, well, that doesn't make sense, but okay.
Sign of the Times.
At least they don't do that thing where so many pop songs do, where it's like name and then in parentheses it's like the chorus.
Oh yeah,
they do.
Such and such, the letter song. Yeah, like
the letters. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, like Take a Letter, Miss Jones is like, I think the best actually leaning into musical theater number in the entire show, because it's very musical theater. of like the 3 different choruses. It's a new person each time that they're talking to. It changes over time. Like it's a perfect little song. They stick right into like the middle of Act 2.
Yeah, it uses musical theater as storytelling to push the plot along. It's the good night and thank you of this show.
Yeah.
Like as written by Pete Townsend and from the Who. It does have very Tommy vibes to it, that song.
Yeah.
I like it a great deal. It's that is when Mickey and Eddie are a bit older. So they meet up again at 14 and they like reconnect in a very homoerotic way.
I know. For a moment, honestly, that was another thing. I was like, is this going to go that way, which I was not expecting?
I mean, if this were a movie from France, I think if you were to rework this as a movie made in Paris, it would be that these boys who never knew that they were brothers have this connection and then like weirdly think they might be gay with each other. And don't go arresting me, guys. Don't go reporting this episode to the podcast police. If you watch the video on YouTube of Con O'Neill and whoever the other guy is playing Eddie, their chemistry together is very homoerotic, which maybe you could argue like,
yes, I think it is. Like,
Kyle signing off on that too.
So Robert Locke, I think, is who it is.
There we go.
Video.
He didn't do it on Broadway though.
Did not. That was Mark Michael Hutchison, I think, or at least that was the original person who, if that is who is in the Broadway or the Tony Awards performance, who boy, he's a good looking guy. But
yes, he is. He was and we'll talk about this when we get to the legacy with the awards and reviews and whatnot. The awards sort of scattered with the show are interesting, but because the actor who played Eddie in the video was also nominated for the Olivier, as was Kiki D, and only Con O'Neill won. And granted, like Mickey is perhaps the better role. Eddie, I think, comes into his own in Act 2. There's a lot of good stuff for Eddie then, but Mickey is the showier role.
It is, yeah, exactly. It's like you're introduced to him and he's doing like a one-man show for like 15 minutes.
Yes, he's also got like the more tragic story in Act 2. So like one of Mickey's 6 other siblings or 7 other siblings is his brother Sammy, who's like a full-blown delinquent. Just, he is the jigger to Mickey's Billy Bigelow. And also I want to say this because I forgot to say this when I recorded Phantom. I understand that the gender dynamics and sexual politics of Phantom that I criticize very heavily is coming from someone where Carousel's his favorite musical. So anyone who wants to come for me on that, like, believe me, I have no problem explaining to you why Carousel is actually a lot better than Phantom in that respect. Sure. But that's a story for another day.
But what is your favorite version of Carousel, Matt?
It's yet to be done, Kyle. There's just never been a revival that really did it for me.
Right.
I mean, no one's done Julie Jordan well in my eyes. So
biting your lip and
I know. God, I love shouting into the void all about that. You know I do. But we're talking about something that's not as good.
Whoa.
I said it. You can like the show. I'm not trying to come for anyone who likes it. I can understand why a lot of people like it.
Oh yeah.
I think it's very fair though to talk about the things with the show that are uber rough. And I think there are some people who like Aurora Spider-Woman famously has posted clips of Blood Brothers on his page. One is reviewers reels of the Broadway company and then of the replacements, and we'll talk about the replacements when we talk about the legacy again. But 2 things. One was with the Broadway clips with Stephanie Lawrence and Con O'Neill and whatnot. Someone who's a super judgmental person who had some choice words to say about Michael Hayden because this guy comes from the opera world. He was like, I'm getting a lot of notes of Matilda from this score, but Matilda's kind of annoying. Blood Brothers does it so much better. And I was like, oh, you're so lucky I'm not sitting at a table with you because I would eviscerate you. That said,
that's like a long drink of whatever you have in front of you, and then like big sigh, and then you turn and you kind of go.
It's like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And then another one was someone said, well, if these replacements had opened the show, they all would have won Tony Awards that year. And I'm like, have we forgotten what this show is up against that year?
Yeah, like it's up against stiff competition.
Yeah, there's no way these replacements would have won against the people who were actually nominated that year. There is no way.
So this is another weird thing that fired in my brain, and you might know better because you've done your Phantom episode already. Because for what, again, it's Warwick Evans, right? Warwick Evans, yes.
Warwick Evans, yeah.
His voice also sounds weirdly familiar, and I'm not actually researched him to see if he's like a voiceover person too. That maybe I'm just knowing something that he's done. But who he sounds very close to, and I'm pretty sure it's not him though, is the opening to the 50th annual Tony Awards, where the Phantom actually introduces people. It's like, don't let me drop a chandelier. That means you too, Nathan Lane.
Oh, the one when they're at the Majestic. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then like Bernadette Peters and Liza do that weird song. Anyways, that person sounds like Warwick Evans. I was like, is it the same year? Was that what was going on? It's not. And it was probably whoever was playing Phantom at that time, but it's very close British actors.
Yeah, well, I don't think that if Warwick Evans ever did play the Phantom, it was never on Broadway.
Right, yeah.
I think after Michael Crawford, it's been mostly Americans, a couple of Canadians here and there, but mostly Americans on Broadway. It might have been Howard McGillen at that point. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, no, it was not the year of Blood Brothers. That was the year of Rent. So that was 96.
97.
Yeah, so Blood Brothers had actually closed by that point. It had been closed for like a year.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I did that research. Like, okay, so it's not him at all. But who is this person who sounds very close to Warwick Evans for whatever reason?
Well, if anyone wants to tell us, please let us know. But also, Kyle, that required absolutely no research on my part in regards to the year, all that stuff. I just knew that. That was just
that's off the dome right there. One thing you also mentioned, I just don't want to blow past this, which is how it came to Canada first for a little bit. Just as because I am a Canadian and I like to represent it. This is like such a Canadian thing. You always have to talk about Canada anytime it comes up.
I would if I were you.
We have so little that we need to talk about. But I don't know if people know how much of a feeder system like Toronto specifically was for a long time into Broadway, mostly the 80s into like the late 90s. It's not so much anymore, but for a time it was like it went to Canada first and then transferred down onto Broadway.
Especially if it was an expensive show that maybe was coming with not a ton of buzz. It was a way to sort of build momentum for it. Like the Mamma Mia did the exact same thing. Started in Canada, then did a year-long tour, and then came to Broadway. And then also, I think I don't know if
there was the revival of like Hal Prince's Showboat started there.
Yeah, Showboat did its out-of-town tryout there. I think that was supposed to be a sit-down, and then they were like, we'll just close up shop and bring it to Broadway. But it was like it was in Canada for a while. I think also that part of that is Garth Drabinsky, which I don't believe
big name.
Yes, I don't think he's not coming up on this series. I don't think.
So.
The only I could have mentioned him in Phantom because he produced the Canada premiere of it with Colm Wilkinson and Rebecca Kane, but I thought rather not. That episode's already very long. It's the longest one to date, we already discussed some of the pompous douchebags that are involved in that show. We don't need to mention Garth.
There's so many.
But he came up in this episode, so there we go. Garth. Well, actually, no, he is actually relevant to the Broadway season with Blood Brothers because of the stiff competition that the brothers were up against.
Right.
Speaking of Hal Prince and all that good noise. So Act 2, as he's mentioned, like Act 2 is usually where like the problems start, and like Act 2 has its problems, and in fact I would argue that is when the Marilyn Monroe metaphor becomes comical,
a little bit labored.
Yes, but I also think that's when the show weirdly kind of finds its groove and is able to kind of like if you did not enjoy Act 1, you will most likely enjoy Act 2 more. I think that the story gets a little bit better. The songs are a little less intrusive. The narrator is a little less intrusive. The stakes get a little higher. And
things lead into each other, I find a little bit more in Act 2. I think you're right. I think there's some melodies and reprisals and stuff that's like, I don't really need this here in this case, but it moves at a quicker pace, which most Act 2s do. But like, for me as a viewer, like I was getting a little bit burned out by the first half, and then the Act 2 comes like, okay, so it's moving. We're getting through the plot, and we're getting to like the showdown.
Yeah, it's in a weird way, it's a little similar to Noises Off, where like Noises Off, that whole first act is setting up the House of Cards. So in Act 2 and 3, you watch it all get destroyed, and Blood Brothers is trying to do that. I don't think it's nearly as successful because then you have songs like "It's All Just a Game," which I think is personally a little useless, but it's there so that way because it's all about how these kids are playing cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians,
kids,
Native Americans.
I agree. I'll go even further. I hate that song a lot. I've listened to the score now 10 times this week, and every time I'm like, oh, this is such a joy to get through for me.
Especially because it starts with na 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 na, and I'm like, well, if you don't like kids singing, Kyle, like that's
I know
that is
breaking my phone in half.
That is birth control. That song right there.
that is. But I mean, again, if you want to get into like thematic resonance, like they're playing cops and robbers, and he ends up being killed in a robbery by
his brother Sammy gets killed, right?
Yeah.
Sammy gets Sammy the delinquent.
Killed? Well, definitely the delinquent brings him along. That's where he goes to jail and.
Yes, I thought Sammy got killed in Act 2.
I think you might be right, actually.
Yes, because Sammy is already kind of becoming a troublemaker, and then in Act 2, so Eddie and Mickey like meet up again as teenagers, and they have a song that's a reprise of My Best Friend / My Son, which is called That Guy.
Right. Just to fact check us both, just so people don't write in. Sammy kills someone and goes to prison. So Sammy doesn't die, but he gets sent to prison.
Got it. Okay, thank you for the fact check, Kyle, so no one comes for me. Honestly, if you know Blood Brothers this well, everyone, I'm going to ask that you start checking out some more shows. I don't want to take away the joy you get from it, but there are more shows. Same way when people are like, I love Bandstand. I'm like, good for you. It's time to check out some more shows. But yeah, so we have It's All Just a Game, which is supposed to just be, these kids, all the violence, like it's fine. Like you die for fake. And it's all just a game anyway. And then Act 2, when Sammy brings Mickey along for the ride for a robbery, because at this point, now Mickey is 18. Eddie has gone off to university. They've been best friends now for 4 years, which I do like. I like that they reconvene at 14 and then they get like a solid 4 years of being best friends. So the connection remains, because it is a little odd that 7 years later, like Eddie still kind of holds this spot in his heart for Mickey. Still wears the locket that Mrs. Johnstone gave him of like the photo of her and Mickey, which is, it has one of my favorite jokes in the show, but it is weird that this 14-year-old boy is still wearing a locket of a child and his mother that's not
sure,
as far as he knows, isn't him. But when he's at preliminary school and the teacher's like, you're a boy, take off the locket, he goes, this is a school for boys. Well, I am a boy. He goes, well, take off the locket. And he says, what do you say? You can fuck a rolling donut, but you may not take my locket. And I'm like, you know what? For all the things on the show I don't like, I fucking give it credit for that line.
Yeah, honestly, pretty much anytime anytime Eddie swears is like gold to me. I don't know what it is about like perfect British diction swearing is incredibly funny to me.
Take a flying fuck at a rolling donut. That's what it is. And I think that is so good. And because he also doesn't even say it angry. He's like, you may take a flying fuck at a rolling donut, but you may not take my locket. And I'm like, you prime. Like, and that's the thing about Blood Brothers, I think that's so frustrating, is there are moments where it says the exact right thing. Like it finds a joke when you need that joke. And then other times you're like, how can you not be so perceptive to know that we need to get the fuck out of this scene? We need to cut this song. We need to move it along. So it's just, it's
keep it moving.
Yeah, keep it moving. It's very frustrating. There's like not enough of a motor, but yeah, they become best friends. Linda and Mickey sort of have a will they, won't they? And Eddie like clearly is in love with Linda as well.
Right.
And basically sets it up so that way Mickey can be with Linda. They get together while Eddie goes off to university. Mickey gets Linda pregnant, just like Marilyn Monroe. They get married and Mickey can't provide. Oh, so the song that we love so much, the Take a Letter, Miss Jones, is Mickey gets a job.
Take a letter, Miss Jones, quote, I regret to inform you that owing to circumstances quite beyond our control, it's a premature retirement for those surplus to requirement. I'm afraid it's a sign of the times, Miss Jones, an unfortunate sign of the times.
And then because of the recession, the job loss in 81, I guess it is, he loses his job and he can't get a new one. So he accompanies Sammy on a robbery for money for the baby, literally Jigger and Billy from Carousel. Exactly. And it goes wrong and both Sammy and Mickey go to prison.
And then he gets on like the anxiety pills, basically.
Yes, they put him on medication for depression because like apparently the moment he goes to prison, he is like a switch goes off and he stops being the Mickey everyone knows and he just becomes like an anxious, depressive slug. And so they put him on medication, which is like makes him different and like an alien. And this is another thing about the show that hasn't aged super well. That's very like early 80s, that like antidepressants don't make you human. And it's like, if you are on the right prescription, it is correcting an imbalance.
Yeah, like I would be willing to like suspend my disbelief through that. I think if they had, I don't know, layered that in a little bit better. I like I said, my biggest problems are with that first act and taking so long to kind of get into the meat of it. Because this is where the time I wish they had spent is that transition from him being arrested to getting on those anxiety meds, because that almost feels like it's given short shrift, where it's like, yeah, so he's on these antidepressants, and that's making him be a different person, and that kind of leads to the murder/suicide that happens at the end too. Like all that stuff happens. Oh, so sorry. But it's that all that stuff seems to happen so quickly that I wish there was just a little bit more breathing room in like that last 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that's absolutely fair. Especially, yeah, I would have liked to have had a scene of Mickey in prison on maybe even before the antidepressants, so we saw sort of why he was put on them to begin with. I don't think we even get that. I think it just goes straight from him being tried and then going into prison and then coming, and then he gets out of prison on good behavior relatively quickly.
That's right.
He's supposed to be sent there for 7 years. He gets out after 3, maybe.
That's right. I mean, that song even writes itself. It's like, I'm waiting here on death row, just like Marilyn Monroe. So I mean,
well, when he gets put on the antidepressants, Mrs. Johnstone sings
and treats his ills with daily pills, just like Marilyn Monroe. They stop his mind from dancing.
At the beginning of Act 2, when she's like telling us, oh yeah, we're in the country and everything's great, and Mickey's now becoming a teenager, and he doesn't think I know that he spends all night dreaming about girls who look like Marilyn Monroe. Like, it just keeps on popping up like herpes. My God.
Not to mention the fact
find a new metaphor, bitch.
Not to mention the fact that we're now in the 80s. So it's like Marilyn Monroe's been dead for 20 years now at this point. So I'm guessing it's probably some other model at the time.
Yeah, who probably OD'd at the point. What about Edie Sedgwick? Right. My son become a giant dick, just like Edie Sedgwick.
Yeah, so come on, Willie. We're here for workshopping.
Yeah, we're here. We're offering notes. Take us up on it. Maybe if you take our notes, it will run much longer in the US.
Possibly.
Dated
references.
Dated references, baby. Yeah, the last 20 minutes of the show, weirdly, it's like pedal to the metal, because
like they go.
Yeah, especially like, again, as you said, Act 1 is super stretched out. Even like the beginning of Act 2, stuff happens. It's not that quick. It's just quicker than how Act 1 has gone. And so then when we get to their adult lives, and also like Eddie and Mickey part ways, because Eddie comes back from university after 4 months, and Mickey has gotten Linda pregnant, married her, and lost his job all in 4 months. It's been a rough 4 months for Mickey.
Yeah.
And basically he's like, Eddie, we're in 2 different classes. We're never going to be the same. Get away from me. I can't stand you. It's like really the beginning where the show is like class. The government favors one class over another. And then I also love in Take a Letter, Miss Jones.
I wish though that the narrator came with, is it class? Could it be class? Who's to say? And it just goes back into the shadows.
He's like that character on Veep. I forgot her name. The one who's like Selena's old friend who becomes a consultant. She was like, I think we need to, it's like, who do you like more? Well, I think we need to make a pro and con list of both candidates and then see who has more pros and who has more cons. I think, and once we do that, we'll know who our candidate is. And it's like, that's not an answer. What do you think, Tom James? I think there's a lot to think about. That's like the whoever remembers her name, please tell me, because I forgot.
I can't remember.
I want to say it's Linda, but I don't think it is. It's something like that. It's a basic name. But yes, the narrator is that character from Veep coming out being like, as you said, could it be class? Is it class? It's class, but is it? Listen, Miss Jones, take a letter, but is it a letter? Is it an envelope? Is
who
it an
can say
essay?
what a letter is, really?
Yeah. Who can say what a letter is? I do love that the last verse of that song is she gets a letter after writing.
I mean, that's why it's so perfect as like a little musical theater piece.
Yeah. For a musical, they have a musical theater song. What a novel concept.
I mean, that also, because my favorite part of that song is like, it is the one that's being written to her, from her. It's like, we appreciate all your stuff, blah, blah, blah. And this, like, that's such a great encapsulation of corporate culture.
Get to stepping, bitch. But so like what pushes everything over the edge, and it's one of those things where it's like, yes, it's all a little contrived, but the show has done enough moves for us to like buy into it enough where like we see that like Eddie and Linda had sort of like a connection, and Eddie lets her go off with Mickey instead. So we know that there's something there. We know Mrs. Lyons at this point has become like paranoid up the wazoo. We know that Mickey's on antidepressants, all this stuff, and he's like kind of on edge all the time now. And when Mrs. Lyons thinks that Mrs. Johnstone is like weirdly orchestrated it all because, you know, Mrs. Lyons reads QAnon, she then gets Mickey to follow Eddie, who Linda has reached out to, because Eddie has basically like helped Mickey and Linda like get a house, get Mickey a job, because Eddie has had life work out for him because he's of a certain class.
Correct.
He has the connections, he has the resources, and helps them out, thinking that Mickey doesn't know. Mickey, of course, does know. And when like Linda can't really take it, she goes off to see Eddie. She goes off to see Eddie for a little bit. And it's unclear if like they actually have an affair. I think it's more sort of she just like needs someone to like a shoulder to cry on.
This is actually something I was a little bit curious about, because I feel like within the context of the show, they do cross that line, but then they both deny it at the end. So I don't know if that's just them lying at the end. I'm not saying that they're being truthful, but it seems to imply that they didn't at all. But it's like, well, I don't know. The show seems to have it both ways.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. From the video, it didn't look like anything happened. It looked, maybe they like embraced at one point, but I don't think they ever had an actual affair. It was like more of an emotional affair. But yeah, the song, what's it called? It's like I want to say it's called A Sensible Affair, but that's not it. It's like
light romance or something.
A light romance, yeah. So the song implies that there's something going on. But when you watch the staging and like, as you said, that final scene, they make it seem as if it's not that.
It feels like they kiss, but maybe I'm just making that up now that I say that out loud.
I thought they kissed too, but then also I'm like, or maybe it's like a nice hug, because like the way that they're positioned can look like that, and maybe that's the point, because Mrs. Lyons shows Mickey all of that, and it looks like a full-blown affair to him, which then leads Mickey to grab a gun, go on a rampage, and Mrs. Lyons at one point tries to kill Mrs. Johnstone, fails miserably at it.
With a knife, like of all things. Like it gets pretty brutal there at times.
Yeah, but it's like also, I mean, I'm sure if you had a good fight choreographer, it'd be a lot more intense. But this in that video, that fight is it's pretty light. It's a light romance, one might say. And Mickey storms the stage, tells Eddie, is my child even mine? I know about Linda, and like everything I have in my life is yours. Why? And he's like, I swear, Mickey, it's not true. And then Mrs. Johnstone comes out and she goes, don't shoot him, he's your brother.
Yeah, right. And that like this like collapses his entire world.
Yeah. And when you have a good Mickey, which I will say, when I saw it at Stage Door, we had a really good Mickey. He really milked that moment where everything was like crashing around him and he was connecting all the dots, and then that turned to a painful rage, because the last thing Mickey ever says is when he finds out that I had two of you, couldn't afford to keep one of you, and Eddie's mom took him, and Mickey says, why couldn't it have been me? I could have been him.
Yeah, which
is a devastating thing to hear right before he dies, because he like what causes him all this dismay isn't even like, he doesn't even say like, you lied to me, everything I know is a lie. It's just, this happened and I didn't get out the good thing from it. Like, this terrible thing happened and I got the short end of the stick and he got everything. Why couldn't it have been me? Fickle finger of fate. Is it fate though? But was it fate?
What was it fate? I think the more we keep talking about this, I am getting more entrenched in my view that I think this story actually starts at the wrong moment. Like, I understand it's important to at least do a flashback or some sort of setup. Like, the mother made this bargain, committed to it. They're separated at birth. Like, that is important. But the more important story is to get to their friendship. Like, the friendship is what is the crux of this. And then they're completely differing paths of having wealth and prestige versus like having nothing and really trying to make a go of it in a world that is not designed for you. And all that stuff is interesting and to be looked at. And I'm probably now going to make a reference to something that nobody knows about. But On my other podcast, Colin Day versus the Machine, we're currently watching movies from 1971, and we watched this movie called Summer of 42.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually ended up kind of liking parts of that movie, but my biggest criticism was like, I think it starts in the wrong place, because I feel like the aftermath and fallout of that affair that is the interesting thing to look at. Like, how would you react to this happening in your life? And not that is where the movie ends. And for me, not that I need a lot of extra time after this happens, but it's like, I think we need to start closer to the inciting action of Mickey, rather than focusing on his mom for so long. And then she just gets sidelined anyways for so much of this story before being brought into it. Anyways, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and it's very clear that the show wants her to be the centerpiece of the show. Like, she's the role, right?
Right.
And I think as you said, like, the show kind of is at odds with itself in the sense that, like, the meat of the story is these two boys and their relationship, and then how the world kind of works differently for both of them, who are, they're the same, they're related, they're twins,
right?
But because of the way that the world goes against certain people and for others, like, some people get all the luck, some people don't, and if you don't have the luck, no matter how hard you work, like, there are just going to be obstacles you have to overcome that some people just never will, even if they are unworthy of that clear path. And that's a really interesting narrative to go down, and a theme to explore. But because the show is trying to cover so much, it does not cover really anything enough, in my opinion. So everything's a little half-baked. And if I say that the last 20-30 minutes work decently, it's not even that it's like, oh, all that messiness beforehand is fine because it just sets that last 30 minutes up perfectly. It doesn't really. It's more that just, like, we've been, as you said earlier, like, we've been going at a certain tempo for so long, and then the last 30 minutes is like a much faster tempo. So by that point, we're just like, oh, thank God, like, we're now at 50 miles per hour. And but then, like, the actual ending itself, like, the actual murder moment happens relatively quickly. Basically, Mickey gesticulates with his gun to Eddie, gets shot by the police, which then causes Mickey to convulse and pull the trigger and shoot Eddie. So it's murder. In the original 70-minute version, it's, if you read the exchange, it's much more contrived. Mickey comes in with the gun, and it ends up being a fake gun, and Mrs. Lyons comes in with the real gun
and then kills.
And attempts to shoot Mickey, and then Eddie jumps in front and takes the bullet, and then she shoots again and kills Mickey. So she kills both of them, which is, it's just very keep on making all these references. That episode of Community where they're all just pulling guns on each other like every 5 seconds. It's great. I love it so much. Not the gun part, just like the fact that it's just constant, like, the original ending of Blood Brothers was like, I got a gun, you got a gun. It's like too much. So luckily the Broadway version, I think, is a little better.
What's more dramatic than pulling a gun on someone, though? Everyone, they should have more guns. The narrator should come out with a gun.
No, he's gonna come out and go, Janie's got a gun. Or does she?
Who knows?
Does she? Is that a gun?
You decide, Curtin.
He's gonna go, is that a gun or is that a prop on a stage? Are we in a movie starring Marilyn Monroe? Curtin, go home, bitches. It's
some guy like, what do we do?
Yeah. So would we say that Mrs. Johnstone is a fully formed character, even if she is the lead? Like, she's definitely the most developed, but is she fully developed?
Boy, that's a good question. I mean, I guess I'll go to bat for her. I'll say that yes, because she does have I think there's different sides that we see to her character, which is like, we see her struggling with her 6 children, this awful decision that she makes to try and better her life and one of her sons' lives. But then we also see her later on, and like even in Act 2, where like she understands that these two people are brothers, is not saying anything, but still being motherly to him and not pushing him away or trying to influence their decision. Like, hey, it's their choice if they're going to be friends from this point on. I did not do anything to guide the hands of fate in this regard. And then having her final breakdown there of like, was any of this even worth it? That sort of thing, right? So I don't know. I guess I'll say yes, but what is your opinion?
I think she's like 80% there.
Okay.
I think stage time does not equate to substance.
Right.
I think I don't think she's really there's a lot of complexity into her emotions, but I don't necessarily find her that complex of a character. Like,
Yeah.
I think most of the complexity with her happens in Act 1, towards the beginning, but even then it's not a little kind of broader strokes. The moment that I like the most with her is when Mickey and Eddie are 14 and they reunite and they stop by Mickey's house to see Mrs. Johnstone, and they lie about what movie they're going to see. They're like, we're going to go see Dr. Zhivago. And like, they want to go see a skin flick. And she catches onto it immediately. She's like, I'm not born yesterday. She's like, I also wasn't a saint before I was your mother. Like, I know these things. And there's a beach. She's like, go on before I change my mind. Like, go see the movie. And Mickey's like, oh my God. And I was like, I don't know. I like that. I like because you also have like Mrs. Lyons, who is a helicopter parent, and you have Johnstone, who's like, she cares, she's there when it matters, but she's also like, my kids are gonna fuck up. It's my job to not like keep them from fucking up. That's what's gonna make them learn. That's gonna make them stronger. And I'll be there when they need me, but I'm not gonna like be around the corner all the time. That's not gonna help either one of us. Which is the script that I found that I guess they like sent to schools in England has all these questions in the back and like homework assignments, like reading it like it's a Shakespeare play, and they have all these questions. One of the themes they talk about is how overbearing parents can be detrimental to their children, which is very true, and I think we see that a lot today.
Right. Well, I mean, and especially in the theater world, right? I mean, that is something you see a lot.
Yeah, and it's something that I think is actually really interesting with Blood Brothers, because I don't know of many works before this that discuss that. This is 100% the first Broadway musical to discuss helicopter parents, or at least to have the contrast of one who is and one who isn't. So I give them a lot of respect for that. How well they handle it, up to you. Because again, they like to go more with the Greek tragedy and the superstitions, spider on the wall, new shoes on the table, devil's got your number, Marilyn Monroe. So it doesn't explore it as fully as they could, but it's there, and there's something to be said for that. Linda. Who's Linda? What's she about? What's her story? Yeah. Is she developed? Is she a character? Is she a person?
No, she is a plot device, if I've ever seen one.
100%. Although she's got some good lines in there.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's the unfortunate part. I mean, I find this with a lot of, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to paint with a really broad brush, but a lot of I don't know, girlfriend characters in plays and musicals I always find to be pretty much underwritten. It's like, you're just girl who they're interested in, and that's all we need from this role. So, and that is what she does in this show.
She's there as an extra sort of obstacle that sort of messes with things. I mean, they give her a personality, but I don't necessarily they make her a person.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, but again, in the whole British writing of things, like we never hear about her parents or anything like that, because it doesn't really matter. Like, Linda's background isn't important. What's important is that we know who Linda is and her history with these guys. That's all.
And and I think that should be pointed out too, is that if you're making a work of art, I mean, is it great if every single person that comes on stage is like this fully formed like character arc? Yeah, that'd be great. But sometimes, like what I'm trying to focus on, what I'm trying to communicate is like this big idea over here, and to do that, I just need this person to exist to set the action continuing to go.
Yeah, no, we don't need. Well, so again, that's what I mean when I say stage time does not equal substance. I don't need another 45 minutes with Linda. I just need when Linda's on stage to be specific, and there's some specificity to her, and they make her a pretty consistent character. Like, I don't think there's ever a moment where you're like, that sounds contrived. Like, there's consistency to her, which I appreciate. But also, like, I wouldn't say she's the most fully formed of characters, but then again, I would say most of the characters aren't. I do like the running joke at the beginning of Act 2. Now that they've been living in the country for 7 years, they're 14, and Mickey and Linda have been going to the same school. Linda just keeps saying to Mickey, "I love you."
Right.
And she doesn't say it like in these giant declarations. She says it so matter of factly. She's like, "I'm in love with you. And one day you will admit that you are in love with me." And she'll say it like in class in front of everyone.
Right.
She's like, "Mickey," it's like, "Mickey, sit down. I love you." And it's like, I like it. I think that's fun.
Yeah, no, it's great, but it's like it's such like a man response too. It's like, what's her angle on this? What's she trying to do? It's like
Sure.
he's like so up in his own head.
Yes. Well, I also think she does it. In addition to the fact that I think she knows her mind, I do think she understands that she's getting on his nerves when she does it, and that she bothers him when she does it, and she likes trolling him. So when she says it in public to a lot of people and embarrasses him, she knows that. I like that. I like that antagonistic quality to her. I wish there was more of it as they got older. But then again, her husband got arrested and put on antidepressants. What could she do?
Right. Exactly.
You lose your spark after that.
It puts a little bit of a crimp into the relationship, let's just say.
Just like Marilyn Monroe.
Just like Marilyn Monroe. That is correct.
So I think we've about discussed as much as we can on this show. Would you?
I would say so, yes. I don't know how much more like I can add into it. It's weird because I know that both I've talked a lot about like the negativity of this. It is weird that I ended up kind of liking the show though at the same time. I think yes, there's ways that you could go in and fix it, but if it was just done exactly the same way, like this is a show I probably check out just to see how it was interpreted, which is not true for other shows. I mean, I am one of the anti-cats people. Like, you would have to take me kicking and screaming to see a production of cats, but Blood Brothers would not be up there for me.
Yeah, it's Blood Brothers is not the worst show ever written. I wouldn't even say it's like lower rung of mediocrity. I think it's like there's enough about it that works.
Yeah.
And as you said, like despite the things I don't like about it that I find fucking rough, there is a charm about it. And if you stick with the show and it's a decent production, like you end up getting sort of wrapped up in it. But but I think for a lot of people, you do have to kind of work with it. And that is harder for some people than others. This is not necessarily a show I would recommend, only because like I have all those caveats, but it is a show if someone were to ask me like, hey, I'm interested in checking the show out. What are your thoughts? I'd be like, check it out. Blah, blah, blah. Like, here are some obstacles I had. So if you notice those obstacles as you're like enjoying the show, note that I had them too and keep going. And so fun times. Yeah, as I said, the script that I read, they had all these like teaching moments and they were like asking people to write cards on Mrs. Johnstone and Linda and Mickey and Mrs. Lyons. And they had like the script teaches us how the class system in this country affects the life chances of the people who live here, about the way mothers destroy their sons by loving them too much. I love the wording of that.
Jesus.
Yeah. I think the way they wanted to say that was how helicopter parents can end up being detrimental to the progress of their children, not specifically mothers destroying their sons by loving them too much.
Nothing is more destructive than motherly love is what the theme of this show is.
You want to know why you're a garbage human being? Because your mother loved you too much, you piece of flop.
That's right. It's a very Freudian reading for this show.
It's very Oh, the last thing they say is how superstition governs our lives. And I think that's a fair assessment. The one thing we talked about it earlier, but I think a more concrete way to just sort of finalize that is how people look into superstitions the same way they look into astrology or if I want to be really controversial here, religion. In the sense that the world is filled with chaos and randomness, right? And we all are trying to find something that can give us a little bit of order and structure in this world, like some equilibrium. In a world that is round and filled with chaos, we want a flat surface to stand on. And for some people, that's religion. For some people, that's astrology. For some people, that's superstitions.
Well, actually, what I actually find the most interesting part about that element of the show is the fact that Mrs. Lyons knows what she's saying is a lie, but ends up really believing it at the end. And I find that so fascinating to be like, whether it is faith in religion, faith in astrology, or whatever you look to, why do we believe that? Because we just believe it. There might not be any necessary like fact behind that. It's just like, oh, but it's been said enough times that I believe that even someone who intentionally knew they were lying at the beginning now thinks it's actually true because they've told it to themselves enough times.
Well, if you give enough weight to the lie becomes true. Or like enough weight to the superstition, it becomes true. It's for anyone who reads Harry Potter, Dumbledore always says like the reason why the prophecy came true is because Voldemort put stake in the prophecy. Like
Right.
he's like, there are millions of prophecies that don't come true. If you don't give it weight, it may not happen. But
Yeah.
Voldemort was so obsessed with it, it ended up happening.
Right.
Same thing with these superstitions. And with Mrs. Lyons, again, I think, but that's sort of the middle ground is like, she starts believing it, but also that's because too many coincidences start to happen.
Right.
And she starts to think, is it actually true? Are these superstitions true? And that's sort of what the show wants you to ask. Doesn't give answers, only asks.
Mm-hmm.
But so your favorite song you said was
I did, but after we talk about this, I'm going to go and say no. My actual favorite song is "Take a Letter, Miss Jones." I think that is the one that I'm probably going to return to the most.
I'm going to change my answer to that one as well, and then I would say "Bright New Day" is my number 2.
Yeah, but I do like "Tell Me It's Not True." I've actually listened to that probably the most this week, just because I like the melody of it so much, and then the lyrics at the end really bug me. So it's gonna it's one of those things.
At the end, the music at the end bugs me, the way it finishes, and then also when you watch it done, I don't know, it's like part of it I understand, like, we have a narrator, we understand we're in a theater, but still there's something a little disappointing when like the brothers get up from the floor and everyone just stands and looks at you and sings into your mouth, and it's like,
just stay dead.
Just stay dead. God, please. You told me it wasn't a game anymore, so stop acting like it's a game.
That's right.
The aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
This show was not well received in America. Critics did not like it. Right. Frank Rich was actually pretty fair. He was like, listen, for all the British mega musicals we've been getting, this one is surprising in the sense of like, this is an intimate show.
Right.
And there's not a lot of dance. It's one set. It's mostly just a couple of actors. And he's like, it's not even like the worst show. It's more just that, as we said, like too many reprises of Marilyn Monroe. The narrator is kind of useless. And he had some problems with some cast members, but he thought it was overall pretty well cast. He thought it was an improvement of it in London, as he tends to. All the other reviews were just like flop, garbage, trash. Wow. Get out of here.
But it ran for like 2 years, didn't it?
Well,
on Broadway?
We're getting
that's
there.
Right.
They were nominated for 6 Tony Awards, Best Musical, not nominated for Best Score. Do you know what they were up against that year for Best Musical?
I think one was Kiss of the Spider Woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was also, oh my god.
Well, we mentioned it earlier. Pete Townsend.
Oh, right. Why am I blank? Tommy.
Yes.
Tommy.
Who's Tommy? The last one is a musical adaptation of a beloved Neil Simon movie starring Bernadette Peters and Martin Short. It ran for like 3 months. Maybe.
I don't know.
The Goodbye Girl.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, which was possibly even more critically reviled than Blood Brothers. And maybe I'm wrong. I feel like Goodbye Girl had closed at this point. So I feel like its nomination was sort of a surprise, but I could be wrong. As I said, nominated for musical, book, actress for Stephanie Lawrence. Con O'Neill was nominated for actor. The actress playing Linda was nominated for featured, but the actor playing Eddie was not nominated, but he did win the Drama Desk Award for featured actor in a musical.
Interesting.
Crazy. And the show...
But it won nothing, right?
It won absolutely nothing. Because Kiss of the Spider Woman and Tommy were the big winners that year.
Yeah.
And ironically, the show probably would have closed later that year. They were not doing well. It was... And there was a whole controversy about the ad campaign because the producer... what did I say his name again was? Bill Kenwright. Bill Kenwright, the producer, made it this whole point of in the advertising campaigns tallying the number of standing ovations the show got.
Mm-hmm.
And like printing like 9 days in a row of standing ovations and all this stuff, like putting it in the papers, putting in TV commercials. And then the critics were like, we're going to go back to the show and see if you're right. And I think when they threatened to come back, he was like, okay, I'll stop printing it. Because...
God.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, the show was not doing well. They were really bleeding money. What ended up saving the show was that in August of that year, so the show opens in April. And so, 4 months later, Petula Clark comes in and replaces Stephanie Lawrence as Mrs. Johnstone, and Sean and David Cassidy take over the roles of Mickey and Eddie, and business immediately does better. They're able to last through another year. The three of them end up piecing out like 10 months later to start up the tour.
Yeah. And
then Carole King takes over as Mrs. Johnstone and plays that for like, I guess 6 months. And then Helen Reddy takes over from Carole King, and no one wanted to see Helen Reddy. And I think she ends up doing the show for like 8 weeks, and then it closes literally 2 years after it opens. So Petula Clark, the Cassidys, and Carole King keep that show alive for like a solid 18 months. And it closes.
That would have been technically that would be considered a hit though, right?
They lost half of their budget though.
Did they really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was what we would call a hit flop. It ran for 2 years, but it did not make all of its money back. And it did have a national tour, which might have done decently. But yeah, I mean, again, the show ran for decades on the West End, had many national tours, is beloved over there. Will probably come back again at some point. I don't know if it's ever going to come back here.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah, we never even got a real Broadway cast recording. We got a recording with Stephanie Lawrence and Con O'Neill, but I don't think anyone else from that production is on it.
Yeah,
maybe Warwick is.
Warwick, I think, is. I listened to that one. There's the 1995 London version, is what they call it.
Yeah,
so I'm pretty sure those 3 people are on it. I actually don't like what they call the international version with the Cassidys on it. I don't know.
Neither.
I just don't like the production of that.
Well, although David Cassidy sounds weirdly like Con O'Neill on it, to the point that I was like, are we sure this isn't Con? I think the reason why I don't like it, the orchestrations are much larger. It's a much more like bombastic recording. And while I've already kind of come for the Skinamax saxophone, there is something really endearing about sort of the smallness of that band and that fucking saxophone.
Yeah.
And the synthesizers. So let's wrap this up, Mr. Kyle. We're going to do some round off questions.
Yes.
You've listened to some episodes. You know how this goes.
It's so hilarious. And I know this is coming and I did not prepare anything. So
totally fine. First question is, far too many notes for my taste. If you had to cut one song from the show, what would it be?
Oh, for me, 1,000%. If I could only cut one show, it would be called Kids Game, because I hate that song so much. I hate it so much.
I mean, I would probably cut both of the Marilyn Monroe reprisals.
You're gonna kill one song, although that is kind of who knows?
I mean, yeah, I think you can get away with it from the beginning of Act 2.
Yeah, for sure.
And then cut it in half. Cut that second one though. I also would probably cut that guy with like, that guy, he's probably got everything. He doesn't have pimples. Yeah. He knows how to talk to girls. He doesn't have halitosis. I would cut that.
Yeah.
It's just a little too
You nailed that. You nailed it though.
Thank you. I mean, that's the gist of the song. You're dead and I miss you. Next question. I dreamed a dream cast. Who would you like to see in this show?
Yeah. I knew you were going to ask this. And now I'm like frantic. The worst part about this is that as much as I love musical theater, I'm terrible at knowing Broadway actors, like current Broadway actors. But
wow,
I like really bad. Like his face looks familiar, but I don't actually know what his name is. However, I think for this show specifically, you do kind of need to stunt cast it with like they did with the Cassidys. I think you do kind of need like that pop rock vocal in it. You don't necessarily want like your classically trained Broadway voice singing these songs. Here's my pitch to you, because I don't know who I'd put into the mother roles. But how about for the two brothers, we do Harry Styles and Zayn, and we have our One Direction reunion back. They can mend the fences. You know that would clean up on Broadway for at least a few months.
Let's go back to your love life there, Kyle. So
yeah, right. Okay, sure. Also, right. One Direction.
One Direction, yeah. Oh, I just got that. Jesus. 5 years later. Oh, yeah. Marilyn Monroe. Right.
Also, if this was 30 years ago, I'd want Cher as the main mother, but she's
totally
old. Yeah.
All right. Rainbow High Spectacle. Does this show need production value to work?
I don't think so. I don't think there's actually that much spectacle in the original, to be honest.
No, there's none.
Like you could do this on a very basic set. Yeah. So the quick answer is no. I don't think you need spectacle for this to work. I would go even so far as to say if you tried to spectacle this up, it wouldn't work. Like it totally wouldn't work because it would detract from what the show even is.
Yeah. I'd like to see as Mrs. Johnstone. I'm probably butchering the name. Keala Settle. What
is she from?
She sings This Is Me. She also is a Tony nominee for Hands on a Hard Body. She was in Waitress, just like voice for days. I'm sure. I bet you anything she'd go up the octave on Tell Me It's Not True. Right. Yes. So like where Stephanie Lawrence is like, it's not true. She'd be like, it's not true. no. Which I'm like, if we're gonna go at full out, let's go full out. Give me
just do
all
it.
12 inches, Keela. Last question. Scale of 1 to 10. 1 being no way, and 10 being now and forever. Where does the show rank for you?
For me, this is a show that I would probably rank as a 6. Is probably what I would give it. Like, it's not an outright travesty of a show. This is never gonna rank up in like one of my favorites of all time. And like I'll speak to some of the other shows you've already talked about here. Like I am like the Phantom apologist. Like I really do like Phantom quite a bit, even with its. Like,
I mean, Phantom works.
Yeah. Whereas this one, I just don't think it. The highs are pretty high, I would say, in this, but then you have a bunch of mediocrity in it that just like kind of really drags it down for me. So yeah, it's like kind of there in the middle for me.
Yeah, I think 6 is very fair. I think as I walk away from the show and the more time I spend away from it, it becomes more of like a 5. And then when I'm watching it, it becomes a 6 again, maybe a 6.5. But yeah, she's not the most up there for me. Yeah. Kyle, this has been lovely. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you had a nice time. I hope that your first time on the breakdown was not a disaster for you.
No, this went really well.
Yay, I agree. I think so very much. Kyle, where can people find you if you want them to find you?
Yeah, if you want to just find me, I am at the Kyle Marshall on pretty much any social media network. For the biggest crossover for this podcast, putting it together is probably going to be the top one.
Yeah,
I'm currently going through the body of work of Stephen Sondheim, show by show and song by song. So here, very, very shortly, we're going to be starting Sweeney Todd. Because of the new West Side Story movie, I'm moving some things around and talking about some other stuff.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so Sweeney will be starting up in December for people to jump onto that train, because I have discovered it's going to take me exactly 7 months to go through that entire show. So it's going to be a while.
I can't wait for that phone call. I look forward to what song you want me to do. But
I need parlor songs. Someone has to fill in for parlor songs.
I was going to say, you're like, because you gave me Blood Brothers, you get parlor songs.
That's right.
Or like you get the contest. Like
yeah, exactly.
We love to see it. If you want to follow me, I'm only on Instagram at Matt Koplik, usual spelling. If you like the podcast, give us a nice 5-star rating, give us a little review, follow us, tell your friends about it. As I mentioned in the Phantom episode, we got our first 1-star rating. So my perfect 5 out of 5 has now become a 4.9. Which is fine. It makes us approachable. I am nervous, though, that as the podcast has been getting more listeners, that I'm going to start getting more people who hate it and give it 1 stars and just lower that rating so it becomes a 2.5.
Oh,
but you know what? People are entitled to their opinions. I just wish they would tell me what they didn't like.
Agree. I hate the 1 star with no review on it. It's like, no, you have to tell me why you hate this so much.
Yeah, and like more than a sentence. Write in 3 tasteful sentences that you hate my voice, my opinions are garbage, and the episodes are too long. I fully get it. Now, kindly fuck off. So
right.
Go fuck your blood brother. So So first of all, guys, join us next week as we cover, in my opinion, the most confounding of Weber musicals, Sunset Boulevard. Stay tuned for that episode. It will be a nice, juicy one. I'm trying to think who we should close this out with this week, because I do believe we have closed out with. Have we closed out with Barbara Walsh? I think we have.
How about Petula Clark? Have you done her?
We know what? No, I can say for certain we have not done Petula Clark. So let's close this out with some mother tucking Petula Clark. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kyle. This has been a pleasure. Once again, guys, catch us next week as we do Sunset Boulevard. And yeah, have a great week, everybody. Take us away, Miss Petula. Bye.